Harish, Bijoor, we are looking at branding here. Politics is a lot, particularly in this age of multimedia, about branding, about marketing. You've got the opposition which has got the acronym India. Do you think it's a master stroke or are they being too clever by half?
Okay, Radip, I hope my comments are going to be seen with the neutrality it deserves to be seen with. I'm really speaking branding. And I'm saying that is it a master stroke? Well, it certainly is a stroke. Whether it's a master stroke or not, only time will tell. It is a stroke because a name is what a name does. And if you really look at the way in which India is trending, it tells a story to say that if at worst this coalition has actually created a bit of a hangama with a name. So in terms of attention, in terms of interest, in terms of the desire to understand what's happening, it's perked that up. But then what's in a name? I mean, going back to Shakespeare, I think there's plenty for sure, at least in the way and manner in which this has been done with. I think a name is a skin, and I think that skin has been put together very well initially by this coalition of 26 parties. But the body needs to fall into part, the individual body parts need to fall into part, and most importantly, the interstitium, which keeps these body parts together, needs to be knitted together. So, name is one, leadership is another. Possibly, we'll see each one of it being cobbled together slowly. Okay, but so as a name, I think it's created enough of a hangama.
Okay, so it's a creative name that has been disruptionist, created a hangama. But the name is a small part. You're going to have to fit in nuts and bolts, Supriya, Srinath. What's in a name? Is this, as I said at the outset, an attempt to create a disruption, to challenge the BJP over their seemingly monopoly over India first? Is that the aim? Was that the real goal, to somehow say, look, you don't have a monopoly over the India name? And I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to play in a moment what the Prime Minister did a few years ago when he was on the campaign trail. Just listening to Prime Minister Modi when he was at a speech, okay, we'll come to that in a moment, but Supriya, Srinath, respond.
I have two things to add to this debate, and I add them very fearlessly. I am not going to spoil people's names here. Let's keep this debate dignified. Difficult to expect the BJP to do, but let's try and make an attempt. Not definitely from this spokesperson. But the reality is that the Prime Minister till 2 months back was thumping his chest and saying, ek akela, ek akela, ek akela. उस एक अकेले को 38 की जरूरत पड़ गई, 2 और ऐड कर लीजिए, अली बाबा बन जाइएगा और उनकी टीम बन जाइएगा. That's the reality. The reality is that when the Prime Minister was standing and pleading before the NDA allies, 38 of them who he had collected, 24 of them have 0 MPs. A big 0 MPs. 7 of them have 1 MP each. So the Prime Minister is standing before those allies and invoking Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Advani ji. Very good. You finally remember the stalwarts on whose shoulders you came here, who you have put in mental coma in Margdarshak Mandal. But the reality is that the Prime Minister stands there and says 3 very interesting things. I don't know if you missed them. The first thing he tells them is that in my last 9 years, I may have been busy and you may have not found an appointment with me. I seek an apology. He then says, because of my SPG, sometimes you may have not found a seat which you rightly deserved and you were forced to sit in the crowd. I apologize for this. And then he says, sometimes your name may have not been printed on a card and I apologize for this. These are not signs of somebody who's ek akela sab par bhari. These are signs of a rattled, baffled Prime Minister. The reality, Rajdeep, is that Bharat ko humne joda, Bharat jodo yatra karke और इंडिया को जिताएंगे. असलियत यह है कि जुड़ेगा भारत और जीतेगा इंडिया. उससे इनके होश फाख्ता है.
Okay, जुड़ेगा भारत.
If I am speaking and you are continuously heckling and intervening, जुड़ेगा भारत और जीतेगा इंडिया. और इसी से ये घबराते हैं. इनके पास कोई चारा बचा नहीं है.